with coverage you can count on. This is KTAB News at 10.
That's the sound of first responders arriving at a Buffalo Gap home fully engulfed in flames. KTAB team members were also on the scene of tonight's breaking news. Good evening. Thank you for choosing KTAB News, coverage you can count on. I'm Bob Bartlett.
And I'm Stacy Lopez. A house fire right across the street from the Buffalo Gap Historic Village. Witnesses tell KTAB News at the scene that the house had been vacant for several years, maybe as many as 15 years. The Buffalo Gap Volunteer Fire Department says it is letting the fire burn itself out, but crews are watching closely to make sure flames don't spread to nearby weeds, grass, and trees. That call was received around 8 this evening. And an hour earlier on a busy breaking news night, this tractor trailer rig receiving major damage on Interstate 20 at Pine Street in North Abilene. According to Abilene police, the semi was heading east on I-20 when it went out of control. The truck dipped into the median, crossed all lanes of oncoming traffic in the westbound lanes, and came to rest hanging over the bridge. The driver was freed from the wreckage by the Abilene Fire Department personnel and taken to Hendrick Medical Center for treatment. No information on his condition has been released as of news time.
We go now to Brownwood, where a mother is in custody accused of killing her very young son. 21-year-old Vanessa Narvaez is in the Brown County Jail tonight, being held without bond for capital murder.
Brownwood police tell KTAB News Narvaez is charged with killing her 2-year-old son, Annabelle Ivan Narvaez. KTAB's Claire Kreitz reports from Brownwood for tonight's top story.
Received a 911 call from 377 Villas Apartments.
We're responding to a medical emergency involving a 2-year-old male child.
At that time, Brownwood Police Chief Terry Nichols says 2-year-old Annabelle Narvaez was in critical condition but still alive.
We requested EMS and fire as well. The child was transported to the Brownwood Regional Medical Center.
From there, the 2-year-old was flown to Cook Children's Medical Center for emergency surgery, where he died of head injuries.
The information we received from the doctors, the trauma doctors in the ER, was that the injuries that the child has sustained, the head injuries, were inconsistent with the story we've been told by the mother at the scene.
Leading to the arrest of Annabelle's mother, 21-year-old Vanessa Narvaez.
For capital murder of a person under the age of 10.
Chief Nichols adds the Texas Rangers and CPS are all working on the case, and he sent a detective to the Fort Worth hospital where the child died.
We're conducting interviews, doing background information. We have a detective in Fort Worth right now, so just ongoing, doing everything we need to do to make sure we do our due diligence on all phases of this investigation and make sure there's justice served.
In Brownwood, with coverage you can count on, Claire Kreitz, KTAB News.
All right, thank you, Claire, for that. KTAB obtained court documents that say Narvaez has a history with Child Protective Services. According to the documents, she was given supervised custody of her children in October of last year, which included monitored visits until last April. For more on this developing case, stick with KTAB on air and on our website, thecountryhomepage.com.
An Abilene couple became innocent victims as a car and motorcycle race near Littlefield on the South Plains, not far from Lubbock. According to the Littlefield Police Department, a motorcycle and black Mercedes-Benz were racing at speeds close to 100 miles an hour. The motorcycle went out of control and hit a Jeep occupied by the Abilene residents. They were heading to Albuquerque at the time. The police report says the Jeep rolled over, but the Abilenians were not injured. They have asked to have their names withheld. The motorcyclist broke his leg. The driver of the car fled the scene, but was later pulled over by DPS. Both are in jail tonight.
In this KTAB update, dozens of dogs are one step closer to adoption after a judge ruled that Rescue the Animals SPCA has full custody of the 78 Shih Tzus rescued from a puppy mill last week in Eula. A custody hearing took place this morning in Callahan County, where a judge awarded full custody to the Abilene Animal Rescue. And after a waiting period where the former owner could appeal this decision, Rescue the Animals will then decide how to place the dogs up for adoption. Now, during an interview following that seizure, spokesperson Paul Washburn says it's likely most of the dogs will be shipped to shelters across the country, with just a few remaining in Abilene. Of course, KTAB will continue to update this story as more information on how to adopt the dogs becomes available. In tonight's Eye on Health report, we're talking about cancer, which doesn't discriminate. And for nearly the last decade, the Cancer Prevention Research Institute of Texas, or CPRIT, has awarded more than $2 billion for new research, product development, and prevention efforts statewide. As
KTAB Steffi Lee shows us, the agency's future and its funding will likely be up for consideration in the next session of the Texas legislature.
Life just throws you some curveballs once in a while.
It's a small but significant reminder.
Cure brain cancer on one side, and then the other side is no one fights alone.
State Representative John Zerwas's wife died from brain cancer a little over 5 years ago.
There was a very, very profound response in her case, and I like to think that she made a contribution towards that.
A contribution towards the future of cancer research in Texas. He's filed 2 bills to continue funding CPRIT. That funding is scheduled to end in 2023.
You have to step back and look, have we really made an impact? And absolutely we have.
I'm not sure without the funds that came from CPRIT that UT Austin would have been able to get me here.
Researchers at UT Austin say CPRIT funding is a key recruiting tool.
We don't have to tell them anything. We just have to let them know what the resources that they'll have available to get their research careers off and running.
State Senator Charles Shortner would rather see state dollars go elsewhere. In a statement, he said in part he'd like to see CPRIT sustain itself without funding from Texas taxpayers.
And that was our Steffi Lee reporting. He will refile the bill when the legislature begins after the first of the year. CPRIT would have to develop another plan to come up with money other than through state funds if it doesn't pass in the legislature.
Well, nearly $500,000 is on the line in Cisco, and some residents want to have a say in how it's spent. In this Eye on the Big Country report, a petition is circulating through Cisco to put a vote before the city council to reallocate funds. The organizer of the petition is hoping to move money from the Cisco Development Corporation and use it to fund other city projects. The CDC was formed 10 years ago, where 1% of the city's budget was used for downtown development. And now, with a boom in Cisco's downtown, CDC Economic Director John Dyers says the city has nearly doubled its yearly income tax. Dyers also says that $500,000 makes up almost all of the budget, and without it, the CDC would be forced to shut down.
As I've been told by City Hall, our $500,000 will not do much in the way of paving streets. And with that nearly $1 million that we provide in benefits to the city, it would be counterproductive.
Dyer says although there appears to be a lot of talk about this petition, he says it most likely won't move forward because of the success of the CDC.
Still ahead on KTAB News at 10, the season of giving starts with a spark, who you're helping when you light up a light with Hendrick Hospice Care.
Next, how to prevent a kitchen catastrophe while cooking your Thanksgiving feast.
And Sam joins us now. It looks pretty good for the next few days, eh?
You bet. And those are some good stories, especially taking care. You don't want your dinner and your Thanksgiving ruined by some accident in the kitchen. Everybody needs to pay attention to that story coming up. As far as today's concerned, it was really cold. We got up this morning, frost everywhere, 30 degrees. Warmed up to 59. That's fairly close to where we should be. Normally we'd be at 64. We are going to get into a warming trend as we head into Thanksgiving holiday weekend. It may seem like a contradiction, but we'll explain when we come back.
With coverage you can count on. Bob Bartlett, Stacy Lopez, and Chief Meteorologist Sam Nichols. This is KTAB News at 10.